Hi everyone, I'm Needlecraft Annie and this is Flosstube number 70. This time I have my normal cross-stitching whip update, what I stitched on last week, what I'm going to stitch on this week. In the end I have a little bit of crochet, but first I had a question on my last video. Carrie asked if or how I decide how I'm going to stitch my projects, when I'm using 10 stitch and when I'm using full cross. And honestly, that's kind of hard to explain in the comment. I tried, but there are so many things I can talk about with this topic, or I want to address with this topic, that I decided to just do it in my video, talk about it real quick. I mean, I think I could spend hours talking about that. I try to keep it brief. And not talk hours about that, because I know you want to see my stitching as well. So let's start with saying that non-full coverage I always do full crosses, because with how the stitches lay and with how the edges look, comparing full cross to 10 stitch, for all those who don't know what 10 stitch is, 10 stitch is basically a half cross. You just do one leg of the cross and do not do the second one. And if you use enough strands of floss, it will cover the space as well. And then you don't need to do the second leg, and it's a little bit faster. But for non-full coverages, with the edges of the stitching, I do not like 10 stitch. So with non-full coverage, I always do cross stitches, full crosses. But with full coverage stitching, I basically have everything. I think the lowest stitch count is 18 count, the highest one is 40 count, and in between I have everything. I tend to like 10 stitch more for full coverage just because it's faster. I only have to do one leg of a stitch and not the second one, so therefore it's a little bit faster. In confetti heavy areas, the difference is barely there, just because the stitch does not take a whole lot of time. If you do it full cross or 10 stitch, doesn't matter. The time consuming thing in confetti heavy areas is starting and stopping the thread, and choosing the next one and so on. But the thing I like the most for full coverage, I think, is 28 count 2/1 10 stitch. I really like the coverage. I like using 2 strands and using the loop start. I have a few golden kite patterns where I have to use 2 strands because there are blended colors in there. So yeah, I think 28 count is the one I like most. But how did I find out? Well, I think I have 11 full coverage projects at the moment, or whips at the moment. And nearly all of those are on different count fabric with different coverage. I have 2 25 counts lying next to me. One is with 1 strand full cross. The other one is 2 stranded half cross. I tried it. Of course, you can do like test patches, take small pieces of fabric and just try it out. But my trying out and experimenting was just taking a project and deciding on a stitch count. And then just deciding if I'm doing full cross or 10 stitch and finding out what I like. That's basically how I decided how I'm going to go with those. I have 2 projects where I knew I wanted to do a 40 count, because those are my supersized Heaven and Earth designs. They are just so big that I knew I wanted a really, really small fabric count with a lot of stitches in a small area, so that the finished project wouldn't be as big, and at least a little bit smaller. And with 40 count, that worked out. I did not want to go any lower because 40 count 1/1 10 stitch in confetti heavy areas can get bulky. So yeah, that's basically it. As I said, the one with the highest fabric count is 18 count 2/1 full cross. I don't think I personally would like 14 count. 16 count maybe okay, But honestly, my aesthetic is more those smaller crosses and how it looks when those crosses are very small. I have more than enough non-full coverage pieces on 14 count, and I really like it. It's super easy stitching for me. But for full coverage, I kind of like those smaller crosses. So therefore, I started with 18 count, and as I said, my favorite, I think, is 28. Doing 2/1 10 stitch. I like using 2 strands because I like using the loop start. So yeah, that's kind of how I decide. How big is the project? And how big will it be on the different counts of fabric? What would be a nice size for the finished project? And as I tend to do very large projects, I often go for smaller counts of fabric just because the finished piece will not be super large. Still quite large, but not that big. Yeah, and then I just try it out, basically. Yeah, as I said, I tried different things. 25 count, 1/1 full cross, and 2/1 10 stitch. I tried that. 28 count, I only did 2/1 10 stitch because I had a non-full coverage piece with 1/1 full crosses on 28 count. And I thought it would get too bulky in confetti heavy areas. Therefore, I just decided to do the 2/1 10 stitch and really liked it. 32 count, I personally like 2/1 10 stitch. I know some people really don't like that, find it way too bulky and use, I think 1/1 10 stitch or 1/1 full cross, which I find too bulky. And 40 count, 1/1 10 stitch. Oh, and as I said, 18 count, 2/1 full cross. Those are the projects I have, I think. I do not think I have anything else full coverage wise. So those are the things I found for myself, fitting for myself. I hope, Carrie, I hope it helped you. It may have been a bit all over the place, but the basic line is I experimented what I liked and I go with the size of the project. How big will it be on different counts? And then I decide with those 2 factors. I think that's basically it. Okay, 10 minutes in. And I have only talked about fabric counts. So let's move into WIP updates. As I said, Carrie, I hope it helped. If it didn't, please write another comment and I try to explain it a little bit better. And everyone else who wants to know more, of course, can comment as well. Okay, now, WIP update. First, as always, let's start with travel stitching, which is the Twisted Band Tumbler by Northern Expressions Needlework. This is what it's going to look like when it's done. And I'm presently working in band number 7, which is this one in here. So I'll show you a picture of what it looked like last time here. And this is where I'm at. So still in band number 7. I brought it a little bit further down. Still not done with the first color. But yeah, progress is progress. This is stitched on a 32 count white opalescent linen. The needleminder is from Caterpillar Cross Stitch, and the full crosses I stitched with 1/2 full crosses, which for every other project were probably 2 spars of a coverage. But with this one I kind of like it because it's very, there's a lot of fabric showing through, so I kind of like it. Normally on 32 count I use 2/1 full cross, but with this project in the pattern there was indicated 2 stitches, stitch it 1/2, so I did. In the pattern there's a conversion for Overa Swan, Dinky Dies and DMC, and I'm stitching with the Dinky Dies. So this is where I'm at. Really happy with how it turns out, but I did not do a whole lot of travel stitching. Travel stitching at the moment with lockdown is work. Going to work means having travel stitching time. But this week I did not feel super stitchy. So I did not stitch a whole lot. I did stitch, but not a whole lot. I did more crochet and I talked, so yeah, not a whole lot of stitching, and that's fine. I'm sure Next week's getting better because it's early shift and no one wants to talk during early shift. We're all too tired. Yeah, that's been my travel stitching. Next, the project, or every week, I have one dedicated project I stitch on every day of the week. At least a little bit. There's no time frame or amount of floss I want to stitch in. Just I want to give it attention every day of the week. So this week my project was Lavender Garden by Rico Design. I tell you always with this project, I'm not sure if it's really called Lavender Garden. There is no name on that one anywhere. I just call it Lavender Garden by myself. So this is this one, and it's a tablecloth and you stitch around the middle. So I show you a picture of what it looked like last time here. And this is where I'm at. Super happy with this one. Really, really happy because I'm really, really close to finishing. So what did I do since you saw it last? Basically, I was stitching. Okay, this is complicated. I was stitching on this side down here. I had the border over the big pot already done, but I moved into the big pot, finished all those motifs, finished the last of the border up here. And then I moved my hoop, moved over to this side and started with the border. There, right under the hoop, is the rest of the border. So I will have to move the hoop once again because I cannot stitch there. But if I do, it will be the last time I move my hoop before I finish this piece. And I want to finish it in February so I can send it to my grandma for her birthday in the middle of March. No worries, she will not find out because she's not speaking any English. So I can tell you that without worrying. But yeah, that's basically it. I just have to do a few motifs over here and move the border further along. So really happy about that. Really happy what I did last week. So yeah, looking forward to stitching on this one once again. I come back to this one during the plant section. Last week, every time before I record a new video, I watch my last one to see what I talked about. If there is something I have to clarify because it changed during the week, and also to see where I was with my projects last week, so I can tell you what I did. And this morning I watched my last video, and I think I had still remembered it from the one before. Mixing, showing my whips, and planning gets super complicated. So I'm trying to separate it a little bit more. So I stitched on this one. I finished all those things and I finished the border. And we'll come back to that one later. Okay, then let's move into challenges. Last time I asked you if you would be interested to know what challenges or what the challenges are that I use my stitching for or not. And you actually said you're interested, or a few of you at least. So I'm going to tell you again, because why not? So first of all, I did stitch on Cinderella Rags to Riches. This is what it's going to look like when it's done, and I have to look it up. Okay, so the movie, or let's start from the beginning. The challenges I'm talking about is the Enchanted Stitching Challenges group on Facebook. Every month they have one Disney movie, and around this movie the challenges evolve. Every week we have 4 challenges, and you can do different stitch counts to earn different amounts of points. And I'm going with the Royal one, which is the highest, which means 250 stitches on every project. If I'm doing 10 stitches, I have to do 500. This week, or this month, the movie is Cool Runnings, and for this challenge, it was said the team members try to get some money, and one of them sings on the streets. They were all 4 listed, and you should tie your project to one of those prompts. And one of them was One Sanka sings on the streets. And I said I'm tying Cinderella, rags to riches, to this challenge because when Cinderella, at least in the fairy tale I know, in the version I know, wants to attract the birds to help her, she sings. So she sings, he sings, that hits. I have to say, last week was super complicated to tie my projects to the challenges. I really have problems with that. I sat there and did not know what to do and what to use. But yeah, that's why I tied it like that. She sings to attract the birds, he sings to gain some money, so Cinderella. I show you a picture of what it looked like last time here. And this is where I got to. Basically, I just stitched on her head, on the fabric she has around her hair, and then I started backstitching it. And then I realized up here there are 3 or 4 stitches missing. So I cannot yet backstitch it completely. So I stopped my backstitching thread partly there, but I had already reached all the stitches I needed, so I left it at that. But next time I'm stitching on her, I will continue with the fabric in her hair and her hair. But yeah, that's her. She's stitched on a 28 count casual linen in the colorway Fog by Picture This Plus, and I'm stitching 2/2. Needleminder is from Denkai Designs. And yeah, she's beautiful. She really is. And I can't wait to get back to her and do a little bit more on her hair. Because at the moment she looks a little bit strange, I think, with that part of her head. But with her hair, it will come together. So can't wait for that and then move into her skin and finish that one out. So yeah, that's Cinderella. She's super beautiful. But I will not stitch on her this week. Which is kind of sad, honestly. But yeah, that's the way it is. Okay, next one was a full coverage one. The Chimney Sweep by Golden Kite. That's what it's going to look like when it's done. And this one was for a challenge to stitch on something that keeps you warm, or that would keep you warm. Sorry, words are kind of hard. I said I'm going to stitch on this one because there are houses in there, and if I stay in those houses, they would keep me warm. As I said, I have problems tying the challenges to my project, so I went with that. Yeah, I show you a picture of what it looked like last time here. And this is where I got to. I have no idea if you can see a difference. This is stitched on 25 count 2/110 stitch. Needleminder is from Denkai Designs. With this one, I remember that I chose the blue fabric because I knew there would be a whole lot of white in this project, and I did not want to stitch white on white. So I decided to go with the blue fabric. Did I tell you 25 count 2/110 stitch Needleminder from Denkai Designs? I think, but I'm not sure. But yeah, this is where I got to. So I was on color number 4 and I finished it throughout the bottom 2 rows of pages. I'm not sure if you can see any difference down there. There were a few sparse stitches all over the place, which in the end got me to about 150 stitches. But yeah, not sure if you can see it. But I finished color number 4 and now I'm on color number 5, which again is a white. And I finished this white in page number 1. And I think I did quite a bit on this edge over here. But that's basically everything I can tell you. Yeah, you probably can't see any difference. And I'm really sorry about that. That's just the nature of the piece. So normally I would go in 10 by 10 blocks to column down on the first page and finish all the columns and all the colors. And then I would go to the second column and finish all the stitches over there. When I stitched on this one last week, I thought about going in rows on the first page, just because I would come faster to this building over here and stitch some other colors than white. This hole in here is this building. So it would be kind of nice to reach that and stitch on some other colors. I mean, at the moment it really is just white, and it's color number 5. And I'm stitching the 5th color of just white. And before I reach that part over here, there will be another few white colors after I finish the one I'm presently stitching on. But at least a little bit less than if I go down and stitch all those. So yeah, we'll see. I'm not yet sure. We'll see about that. But it's coming together. I mean, up here in the top, especially in the top row, there's quite a bit done already. It's just not super exciting. Yeah, we'll see about that. That's the chimney sweep. And then I moved on to my next challenge, for which I stitched on 4 Seasons by Have Enough Designs. The artwork is by Jesse Gierka. And it's this beautiful piece over here. Really, really love this. And we should stitch on a piece that reminds you of old friends. I said I'm going to stitch on this one because back when I was young, in my teenager years, I was at a swimming club, and with those other swimmers, we were really close, and basically throughout the whole year, we spent quite a lot of time together, especially at training, but also in our free time. And one of those things I really, really remember was during the winter, we would do a barbecue outside, sitting outside, grilling and stuff. But I mean, it was winter, it was super cold. So one of our friends had a little garden hut, and we would all sit in there and eat. And the poor guys had to go outside and stand at the grill, and the girls sat inside. I mean, we had to do the salads at home, so it was kind of fair, I think. But yeah, I took that memory and therefore tied this project to old memories and old friends. So yeah, I remember that really good, and I really treasure those memories because it was a good time. So yeah, that's why I stitched on 4 Seasons. So I'll show you a picture of what that looked like last time. And it was the first time I stitched on this one this year, and I'll see if I can get it into the picture. So this is where I'm at right now. It's stitched on 25 count 1/1 full cross. Needleminders from Danka Designs. And I stitched over here and finally finished the first row. I'm stitching this one in 20 by 20 blocks. First over the whole width of the pattern, and now that I have reached that, I will move down here and start my second row. So I bring up a closer what I actually stitched on. Basically, I started, I think, over here and did all of that. I really stitched a whole lot, and I really like it. So yeah, I'm really happy that I finished that part of the design, and I already stitched in a few reds that I then parked below, because I'm getting into the autumn section with that one. I really love how this pattern is built, and especially when I'm stitching all those rows, I'm stitching all different colors all the time. So down here is winter, spring, summer, and autumn. And when I first started it, I wanted to finish all of summer and then move into the next season. But with the way I'm going at the moment, I really like that I have first of all, I have all those spring colors, and I will get into the super beautiful flower colors. Then I have those summer colors, which are kind of bright, but not super bright like spring. And then I get into the autumn colors, which are super pretty reds and browns. And in the middle, I will have the sky sometime, and then I will move down into winter. So I really like that. So I'm going to continue with that. It will take years and years and years until I get down to winter. But yeah, that's the way it is. I did tell you 25 count 1/1. This one was another one where I just had this super big fabric. So I chose a super big project, which was 4 Seasons, and decided to stitch on it. Because I had never done 1/1 full cross on 25 count, well, I decided to try it. It was probably not the smartest move to take such a big project to do 1/1 full cross. I have smaller projects on 25 count, which would have been smarter to do those smaller ones on with full cross. But I decided for this one, and I really like it, and I'm going to continue with it. And I'm fine with that, and I'm fine that it will take years and years and years longer than probably will with 10 stitch, but still, I really love it, so fine with that. Yeah, this is for seasons. It's getting super hard to take a picture because it's super wide, but there's nothing below that. So it's taking a picture of this one is just a whole lot of fabric and a little bit of stitching at the top. So, but that's life, and I'm going to continue on the second row next time I stitch on it, so there will be a little bit more stitching. Okay, this fabric is so huge. That's that one. And the third challenge was to stitch on something that you can relate to the number 6. So I said I'm going to stitch on Mini Katie Cruncher. I have an enough designs. The artwork is by Hannah Lund. I had so much problems with the 6. I went through all my projects, counting if maybe the title of the whip has anything to do with 6 or anything. I was really searching with this one. And then I realized, the shark has exactly 6 teeth. Well, that fits, and I took this one. So, I started with this challenge because I was so happy to have found something with the number 6 that I decided to just start with it. And I did. I needed 510 stitches, but with the way I stitched this, I stitch in columns, and when I start a column, I want to finish a column. So I did, I think, a bit more than 1,000 stitches. And then I realized last weekend, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, was WIPGO weekend. WIPGO weekend, it's getting complicated here in my video once again. WIPGO is something Jessie Marie does stuff. She's also here in Flosstube, and she makes amazing videos. She has created that for herself, probably 4 or 5 years back. And in 2020, she decided to do a Facebook group and let everyone participate in it. Basically, WIPGO is a bingo board with 25 squares. And you fill those 25 squares with your projects and different goals for those projects. For me, those goals are year-end goals. So, yeah, every month she calls 2 numbers, except for 1 month where she calls 3. So 11 times 2 projects plus 1 time 3 projects makes 25. And once a month, there's a weekend, which is WIPGO weekend, where you stitch or you set yourself a goal for the projects that have been called that month, and you try to accomplish those goals. Well, as I said, it's WIPGO weekend, so it starts on Friday. I had finished my column on her on Tuesday, but she's one of my WIPGO projects. So on Friday, I set myself a goal for her and started stitching. Once again, I had nearly all of my challenges done, so I decided to just start with it. And 4 seasons, I think, was the last challenge. I'd ended on Saturday. Friday, I started on her once again. I set myself a goal of 300 stitches because during January, 3 projects were called, and for all of those 3 projects, I took 200 stitches as my goal. So now, with only 2 projects, I decided for 300 stitches. But when I start a column, I want to finish a column. So yeah, I did quite a bit on her. I show a picture of what she looked like last time here. And this is where I got to. I finished 2 columns, and she looks amazing. She stitched on 25 count 2/1 10 stitch. The needleminder is from Denka Designs. It's up here. And you can see her eye. Oh my god, it's so cool. yeah, I did this column in here, and then I moved over and did this one. This is the white part. This is the white part of her eye, this one, and below there's her cheek. So I'm super happy with where I got to. And then I got into thinking. I have 20 projects. For the WIPGO board, I needed 25. So basically, I took all my year-end goals and put it on the board, except for my full coverage Fancy Ladies. This year is the year of Fancy Ladies for me. And my full coverage Fancy Ladies have exactly double the amount of stitches required for the year-end goal than all my other full coverage pieces do. So I put all my Fancy Lady full coverages, which are exactly 5, on my board twice. And twice with the same amount of stitches, which is the amount I want to do on my other full coverage till the end of the year, which is 4,563. For my Fancy Lady full coverage, I want to do 9,126, which is twice the amount, 4,563. So with those being on their double, I had exactly 25 projects. Well, I did so much on her already this year. With the next column, I think I would have reached the first time 4,563 stitches, which is amazing. And I really started to think if I want to do another column this month, just because I can cross off a goal of my WIPGO board, and because I will move further along in her eye and her face, which is amazing because all the other things I stitched so far were black and a bit of her hair and a little bit of tiny shark down here. But moving along into her face would be so nice. So I'm still thinking about that, not sure yet, but we'll see. She is also now close to 20%. I think I'm at about 18. That's nice. So yeah, indicating cruncher. Really looking forward to coming back to her. And I really want to finish that goal. But I have so many other projects. I have 3 full coverage projects I have not yet stitched on this week. This year, sorry. So I think they should have priority. I think. We'll see. At the moment, nothing's planned with her, but still thinking about it. Okay, those were all my challenges. But as I said, WIPGO weekend, I stitched on indicating cruncher. The other WIPGO project this month that was called is Supersize Max Color Supersize Max Color Cliffhanger. Artworks by Amy Stewart. Shout if I haven't enough designs. That's what it's going to look like when it's done. And I showed a picture of what it looked like next time here. I think that's the first project where I did not talk for hours before I started to show you the project. Here's where I'm at right now. As it was my other WIPGO weekend project, my goal were 300 stitches as well. And I had just started to completely finish 3371 on this page. So I took 1 length of thread for that. My length of thread are super long because normally I stitch with 2 strands, I fold them in half, and it's fine. On this one, I'm stitching, this is a 40 count, and I'm stitching 1/110 stitch. So I started with this length of thread, and I just stitched and stitched and stitched wherever it took me. And when I hit OK on my Pattern Keeper app, I had, I think, 359 stitches with 1 length of thread. Super amazing, but I had only a little bit up here missing with the color, so I decided to continue going. And I had a little bit more than 400 in the end, but I finished all 3371 on this page. Everything that's left on this page is black. I have only 1 color left on this page. That's so amazing. That will be so super fast stitching whenever I come back to it. Really looking forward. Okay, as I said, 40 count, 1/110 stitch, and yeah. Really, really happy with this one. I only want to do 4,560 4,563 stitches this year. I think I already did about 1,000, maybe a little bit more. And probably this page alone, 3,000 stitches, just black. But whenever I need a fast project, or project where I have to stitch on black for a challenge, that's the one I'm going to, because it will be super fast to finish that page. And I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, that's Cliffhanger. And I can't wait. With this one, all the pages I can reach either directly or diagonally are in a wheel on the Tiny Decisions app. So whenever I finish a page, I will hit the bottom button and it will tell me which page to move on next. I really want to finish this page just to see what my next page will be. But yeah, if I do that, I'm very close to finish my year-end goal, and it's only February, so we'll see. That's Cliffhanger. Super amazing. Really happy with that one. And that's all I stitched on. So let's move into plans. Let's start with challenges. I will have to search for it once again. I'm really sorry about that. That's just the nature of the thing when I want to show you what I did or want to tell you why I stitched on something. So let's start with the Chimney Sweep, my first challenge. Stitch it on a piece that you can relate to ice or running. This is a winter scene. I'm sure there's ice on those roofs and on the streets, so I'm stitching on that. It's definitely a winter scene, and so ice, that works. Next one will be Lavender Garden. Ugh, very far away. Stitch on a piece that you thought, or stitch on a piece that is working out faster than you thought. Well, with this one, I wanted to finish till the year, to the end of the year. And as I did only stitch about 2.5 hours last year on this, over the whole year, I thought I will need till the end of the year to actually finish this, because I thought I would not have any motivation to stitch on it. I'm close to being done in February. That's pretty cool, and that's faster than I thought. I will move, let's show you over here. So it's repeating this one over here once again, so I will start with this first motif, and it probably will already get me my 250 stitches, because whenever I have a thread still on my needle but the color is done in this motif, I will just move into this motif straight away and finish my length. So this one. And then there's another challenge. Stitch on something that you can relate to pride or fighting. Well, I'm super proud about this one because it's my very, very first cross-stitching project, and I taught myself how to cross-stitch, so I'm proud about that. And yeah, so that's why I'm going to stitch on this one once again. Also, I'm very proud when I give it to my grandma. Also, I will know my grandma will be really proud of me and will show it around. That's just how grandmas are. So yeah, I can definitely connect this one to pride. I hope to finish the first two motifs and maybe move further along into like the third, because then I will be able to move the hoop into the last position it will ever be. That's cool. Really looking forward to that. So yeah, that's that one. So 2 challenges on this one means at least 500 stitches, probably a little bit more. Really looking forward to that. Really do. And the next one was the last one. Stitch on something that is red. I read that and was like, I don't have any projects with red. At least not with as many stitches as I need. I was like blank. And I went to my list with all my projects and I was like, I do not have anything. And then I realized I skipped the project that was at the bottom of the list. And that one had red. Royal Games number 2 by Mirabilia. Last year I finished number 1. This year I want to finish the Queen of Diamonds. That's it, the Queen of Diamonds. So she has red. So I'll show you where that one's at. I used it for Whipco weekend during January, which were 200 stitches on her, and that's all I have on her because I just started her. And that's her. She's stitched on a 32 count white opalescent linen, 2/2 needleminders from Denka Designs. She's on the same fabric like the first one was. So yeah, that's my start. I have now finally a working copy. When I started her, I thought I did not need any. Started stitching and realized I need a working copy. I powered through those 200 stitches that I needed for my challenge. But I really, really needed a working copy. So I finally have now one I can start marking off what I already did, and then I can start stitching, search for some red floss, I'm sure we'll find some, and stitch 250 stitches in red. So yeah, really looking forward to that actually, because as I said, I stitched on her during January and then I didn't anymore. And I really like her, so I should continue stitching on her. Okay, that's all my challenges. But again, I have one project that I want to stitch on a little bit every day. This week, it's Lilac Fairy by Bavako. That's what she's going to look like when she's done. And this is where I'm at. She's super beautiful. She's stitched on a 14 count Lilac Ada 2/1, except for the background that's stitched 1/1, which gives it a really nice texture and 3D look. Needleminder is from 1 to 3 stitch, and with her, I already did that with having her for 1 week. So I think I'm going to continue what I did last time, which was 3 strands of floss every day. That got me super nice progress. I think I did close to 1,000 stitches last time I stitched on her that much. So yeah, really looking forward to that. Probably going to continue into her wing and her sleeve and the middle of her dress. So I then will be able to finally backstitch or continue backstitching her wing. That would be pretty nice. So we'll see about that. And maybe also stitch in those empty stitches, which are a different color. That is down here in her dress somewhere once again, which is kind of a band. So I want to finish that so I can finish her from top to bottom with everything there is in. Because there's quite a bit left to do on her. She's probably around 50% done now. So I want to finish her this year. I have to get going. And as it's the year of Fancy Ladies, I want to at least finish all my goals on my Fancy Ladies. So as she's one of them, she needs attention. So a little bit every day of the week. And then, I'm not done yet. On starting Friday going through to Sunday, there's the Big Strides weekend in the Full Coverage Fanatics Facebook group. Basically, it's a challenge without any stitch count. You just participate and stitch how much you can on your biggest full coverage whip, which for me is Supersize Once Upon a Fairy Tale Max Colors by Amy Stewart, or artwork by Amy Stewart, shared if I haven't enough designs. That's what it's going to look like when it's done. It's so amazing, and I'm sure you saw it already because it's all over Flosstube and all over Instagram. Because I think it was released the end of 2019, and especially for New Year, New Start 2020. I think so many people started it, me included. I'm really in love with this. So I cannot stitch a whole lot on this one at a time because it's super complex with a whole lot of colors and a whole lot of confetti and yeah, not easy stitching. But yeah, I really enjoy it. So this is what this one looks like right now. It's also stitched on 40 count Newcastle linen 1/1 10 stitch. Needleminder is from, like I said, Needlecraft, and I'm going over the first shelf till I'm done with that in about 10 years. But yeah, I've reached the shelf then here, and now I'm in this diagonal and going to continue up here. Those books are not super confetti heavy, at least the darker ones not. So I hope that I may be able to go to around down here in those 3 days. That would be nice. But that also means I want to try to finish all my other challenges for the Enchanted Stitching Challenges group. To finish those till Thursday, maybe. And then have Friday to Sunday for Supersize Once Upon a Fairy Tale, and also for my Lilac Fairy, which I still continue stitching on every day a little bit. And if I have some time left, if I've done my Lilac Fairy for the day, if I'm burnt out on that one for the day, I might go back to Lavender Garden, because I kind of want to finish it. And if I finish it this week, that would just be amazing. I have planned it for next week to be my project for the week that I stitch on every day a little bit. But if I finish this week, I don't need that. That would be pretty amazing. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping to finish that one this week. But first I want to finish all my challenges, which I already do 2 on Lavender Garden, so that's pretty fine as well. But the chimney sweep does take some time. It's only one color, but it still takes some time to count and find the symbol everywhere. So we'll see. I would really like to finish Lavender Garden this week. That would be super nice. So we'll see about that. But yeah, that's all my stitching. It's super untidy over here, but I want to show you some crochet I did. I showed you that one 2 or 3 weeks ago. I started a shawl. I have to take out the needle because otherwise I will lose it. I started a shawl, and this is where I'm at with it right now. This is where I was last time. So I stitched all of that during last week, which is amazing. But as I said, while traveling or at work, I did not feel like stitching. So I did some crochet. So yeah, I'm not at 50% done yet. I think I have 7 more rows, and then I'm halfway through with those rows. Afterwards, I need borders also. But yeah, with the rows, I'm close to 50% through. So yeah, that's that one. Super amazing. Not the prettiest color. The yarn is called Creative Soft Wool Aran from Rico Designs, and basically it's 75% polyacryl, 25% wool. So yeah, that's that one. With crochet, I never know what to tell you, what to not tell you, just because I don't watch any podcasts. I want to start with that, watching some crochet and knitting podcasts, so I actually know what I'm talking about and what others tell you, so I can tell you probably the same. We will see about that. So far, I have not made it to watch any. But yeah, that's my crochet, and that's all my stitching and everything I wanted to show you today. And I think it's long enough. I feel like I talked for hours, but I'm not sure about that because I film in sequences, so I never know how long I actually talk. I just find out afterwards and while editing. So, okay, I think that's it. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, just pop them down below. I try to answer in the comments, and if it's a bit more complicated question, I answer in my video, in my next one. My next one should be on Monday. I think so. With me, you never know, but I think so. So yeah, that's probably it. I think, yeah. Okay, that's been everything. I hope you enjoyed and have a wonderful time until I see you next week. Should be Monday, I hope so. And until then, see you.